All right, what's up, YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Um, so we already know about Wilder and Povetkin. The fight didn't happen, okay? And the WBC has granted Deontay Wilder a voluntary fight, okay? So there's a few guys that's been calling out Wilder, okay? Stavern wants to have his rematch. Ariola, who is the front runner of having this fight, getting this fight with Deontay Wilder, he's out there. You also had Gerald Washington, who said that the fight was very possible. Okay, so we're gonna go down. I pulled up the top 15 WBC heavyweights. Okay, on FightNews.com, and we're gonna go down the list here and try to come up with a good opponent. Or you know what? I'm just gonna give you my opinion on all of these guys in the top 15. Okay, now we have number one, Povetkin. All right, we know the fight is not happening. All right. The WBC hasn't made an official ruling on what's going to happen with the Povetkin situation. Right now, Povetkin still has his number one ranking in the WBC. Okay, we don't know if he's going to get suspended, if he's going to be removed from the ranks. We have no idea. There might be a rematch later this year, but right now, we know Deontay Wilder is looking for another opponent for a voluntary fight. So number one was Povetkin. Number two is Stavern. Now, Stavern has come out and said that he's interested in the rematch, even if it's not a title fight, okay? Stavern, who lost to Wilder last year and lost his WBC title, said that he was dehydrated in that fight, okay? He wasn't 100%, and that's the reason why he lost the fight. Stavern, even though he lost, he was the only fighter that did not get knocked out by Deontay Wilder, okay? Still, even to this day, okay? He actually went the whole 12 rounds. But it was a lackluster fight in some sense because Stavern really didn't bring much of a fight for Deontay Wilder. He did several rounds, a few rounds maybe. He gave Wilder a decent match, but for the most part, it was Wilder controlling the fight. Okay, all right. So Stavern, I mean, listen, it's not the worst fight. All right, if Wilder were to fight Stavern again, I really don't think it does anything for Wilder because Stavern hasn't really done much since he lost. You know, and I'm not really buying the whole dehydration thing. Okay, so I think Wilder won that fight fair and square, in my opinion. Stavern, who I've seen do better in other fights. Maybe it's because of the opposition he faced this time. Because before that fight, Stavern never really fought anyone that good himself. Outside of Chris Ariola, he didn't really fight anyone in his career, you know, in my opinion. All right? Then you have Kubrat Pulev, who, in my opinion, is probably, as far as resume is concerned, he would probably be the best name on Deontay Wilder's resume, you know. Outside of Allison and Povetkin, you can actually make a debate on Kubrat Pulev being a top 5 heavyweight, even with the loss to Klitschko. Okay, Pulev is still one of the top heavyweights in the division. Okay, he's beaten a lot of good fighters out there, and he is coming off of a win against Derek Chisora, a fight that I thought he clearly won. Okay, so Pulev would be a good opponent. Now, it's only been a couple of weeks since he fought Derek Chisora. So I don't know if the fight is actually going to happen, okay? I think that fight was actually on the same night that Wilder and Povetkin were supposed to fight each other. But Pulev is a very skilled boxer, okay? Some would probably argue that he's more of a better technician than Deontay Wilder. And I think that's a great name to have on your resume if Wilder were to fight him. I just don't think the fight is very possible because depending on, you know, the time period or when they want to have this fight, this is a fight that warrants a full training camp, okay, for both fighters. And Pulev is just coming off of a win against Derek Chisora, which was a pretty tough fight. So I doubt that fight happens, all right? I doubt it happens, you know, but it could happen, you know, and Pulev, if he might want another crack at the title, fight Deontay Wilder, you know. So let's move down. Then you have Duhaupas. Duhaupas is a fighter that beat or fought Deontay Wilder and lost to him. He got knocked out. Or he got stopped last year. But it was a pretty solid fight, especially in the earlier rounds. Duhaupas was a good opponent, and he's had success since he lost to Deontay Wilder. And this is the thing. Let me just go down the list. I don't want to get too much off track, but I'll bring certain things up later. Duhaupas is a good fighter, but he lost to Wilder, and I don't think the Wilder was competitive to a point where it warrants a rematch, especially this close in the game. All right, so it hasn't really been that long since that fight. I really don't want to see it right now. Okay, let's move down. Carlos Takam just came off of a loss against Joseph Parker, okay, just last weekend. All right, so I doubt that fight happens. Is it a great fight? Of course. Carlos Takam, who didn't really show up against Joseph Parker, in my opinion, thought Takam definitely could have won that fight. Even though I predicted Parker to win the fight, I was surprised of the outcome during the fight because I thought Takam had the skills to beat Parker that night. But I think right now, being that Takam is coming off of that loss and not really an impressive loss neither, I think I don't think it's a real meaningful fight for Deontay Wilder, especially if he is to beat Takam. He's not really going to get any credit for it. Just like if he beats Stavern again, he's not going to get credit. If he beats Duhaupas again, he's not going to get credit. At least in a Pulev fight, it's a credible opponent, okay? One of the top heavyweights. So I think the Carlos Takam, right now, coming off of that loss to Parker, it's just not the right time for it. Even if Takam is still a tough opponent for Deontay Wilder, and you can argue he's the toughest opponent on Deontay Wilder's resume, just right now the time is not right, all right? Him coming off that loss. Joseph Parker, a solid opponent. I mean, listen, Parker is right there in the IBF. Could be getting a fight with Anthony Joshua, okay? But he's right here in the WBC. He's ranked high too. Listen, if Parker has the opportunity to fight Deontay Wilder, he should take it. But we're just 1 week shy of his last fight with Carlos Takam, which was a tough fight for him. All right, I don't know if he wants to take this fight here, or is he gonna wait to try to get a shot at Anthony Joshua? Anthony Joshua fight is probably a bigger money fight, probably a bigger fight overall. He's probably gonna sit this one out and wait for the Anthony Joshua fight. As far as which fight would be more difficult, I don't know. A lot of people say that Joshua is overrated, but some people say that he's the future of boxing. I really don't know who you think is better between. That's up to you guys to tell, I really don't know between who's better between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. I really don't know. But I expect Joseph Parker to sit this one out. I don't think he's going to take this shot and try to get his opportunity with Anthony Joshua, because at least in that fight, probably get paid a lot more. Both are dangerous fights for Joseph Parker, but at least the money is bigger in that fight, in my opinion. All right. Andy Ruiz, a guy that I really like that just hasn't fought anyone yet. It's been years now. He still hasn't got a shot. I like Andy Ruiz. I think, if you look out, if you ignore his physique, he's a chubby dude. He's not tall. Okay, take away the look. He's a good boxer. All right, he has fast hands, and he has some power. The kid can hit, and he could take a punch. I think he's a pretty entertaining boxer. And I think he's skilled. I wouldn't be mad at the fight at all. If we found out that Andy Ruiz was going to be Deontay Wilder's next opponent, I wouldn't be mad. I think it doesn't mean as much as the Pulev fight, but outside of all the other ones, it makes a little bit more sense. I guess the reason why I wouldn't expect this fight, and I would expect maybe a Gerald Washington fight over Andy Ruiz, is because Washington is signed with Al Haymon, and Ruiz is signed with Top Rank, I believe. And I still think, in my opinion, because Gerald Washington claims that there's a chance he might get this fight. I think Andy Ruiz is a more dangerous fight than Gerald Washington. All right, it's a more dangerous fight, but at the same time, Wilder wouldn't get credibility for beating Andy Ruiz. So I don't think that fight is possible. It could happen. I mean, Ruiz is there. He's number 7 in WBC, and he's never fought Wilder before, and he's undefeated. I just don't think the fight is going to happen, all right? David Haye. I mean, David Haye, number 8, he's trying to get this. He's another fighter that's trying to get the Anthony Joshua fight. I don't think this fight is going to happen. This is probably the most dangerous fight on this list. And I think David Haye has a great chance of being Deontay Wilder. All right? I think he has a good chance of being Deontay Wilder. I just don't think the fight's going to happen. David Haye came back for 2 bumps already. I mean, it's really easy to get out of a fight with David Haye. You just say, oh, look on his resume. Look who he's fought. Since he's came back, he's fought 2 bumps. Before he left, he pulled out of 2 fights with Tyson Fury. So, yeah, it's been a while since David Haye really fought someone relevant. Even though as dangerous as I think he is, right now he hasn't done anything recently to really prove that he's worthy for a title fight. So, I don't think that fight is going to happen. All right, Brian Jennings. I think the time is off now. Last year, year before that, a lot of people wanted to see this fight, especially in America, 2 American fighters. A lot of people wanted to see the Brian Jennings-Deontay Wilder fight, but right now, Jennings is coming off 2 losses, 1 knockout loss. I just don't think the time is right now. And Jennings getting into a fight with Wilder, if he does get knocked out, 3 losses in a row, it's just not the way to go in his career right now. I think he should try to get a couple good wins first, then maybe get another title shot down the line. But just 3 wins, 3 losses back to back. I mean, listen, if he wins, he'd be right back in the mix. But if he loses, and I don't think he'd be favored to win right now. I just don't think it's the right time for Brian Jennings to fight Deontay Wilder. And I know it could have happened before Jennings fought Ortiz, but right now it's just not the time. I mean, the Klitschko loss wasn't a bad loss, but he just came off of a knockout loss to Ortiz. I don't think it's gonna happen. All right, Malik Scott already got knocked out by Wilder. That's not happening. Arthur Spilka. Not for nothing. I don't think we're gonna get the rematch. But if there is a Wilder rematch with somebody, it should be Spilka. He's the only guy that seemed to be winning rounds against Deontay Wilder. All right, I actually had Spilka up by a round in that fight. So if any rematch makes sense, the Spilka one does. All right, and I think people will want to see that rematch again. Even with the knockout, Spilka was doing a very good job, and I'm waiting to see what he does even after this loss. Because I think he's improved working with Ronnie Shields. So I just don't think the fight's gonna happen. Eric Molina, another guy that Wilder beat. Another guy that Wilder beat on this ranking. Knocked him out too, or stopped him. I just don't think this fight's gonna happen. It was a good, entertaining fight, but Molina didn't have a shot of winning the fight. He hurt. His best moment of the fight is when he hurt Wilder. He was tough. He took a lot of shots, but this guy had been knocked out by Areola before. A possible opponent for Wilder. I just don't see it happening. Derek Chisora, he has his whole stuff going on with Dillian White right now. Just coming off the loss with Pulev 2 weeks ago. He's not getting a fight with Wilder right now. He's not getting a fight. All right? And if he were to fight Wilder right now, it'll be an easy win for Wilder, No one would really respect it. Ruzen Shagayev coming off of that loss to Lucas Brown. Before when I hear he got his title back because Lucas Brown tested positive for a PED. I don't think that fight is going to happen. It's just not a fight. Ruzen was just talking about retirement recently, just a few weeks ago. I just don't expect this fight to happen, It's not a fight that people are asking for. And just don't think we get in this fight, man. And then last but not least, at number 15, you got Gerald Washington. I mean, I don't like the fight. Gerald Washington is not really that good to me. I think everybody on this list is better than him. Tall guy, very muscular, but he's not experienced like that. I actually think Dominic Brazil is a little better at this point because I was watching both of them at the same time. Because I remember with Golden Boy and they were fighting on Fox Sports 1 and stuff, they was pretty much putting them on the same cards or they were fighting around the same periods. You know, I mean, at least with Dominic Brazil, at least he looked good against Mansour. I thought Mansour was winning, but Brazil was actually sitting in the pocket, banging it out and trading with him. You know, he got knocked down, got back up. He went to war with Mansour. This guy, Gerald Washington, that fight was terrible, you know. Mansour was trying to make the fight, and Gerald Washington was just running and staying on the outside and not doing anything, period. You know, he was gassed halfway through the fight. It's just I just haven't seen anything good from Gerald Washington. You know, and I think guys like Andy Ruiz deserve to fight more than him, you know. Like, this guy's on this list. Everybody on this list deserve to fight more than Gerald Washington, in my opinion. You know, but he might get the fight because it makes sense because, you know, they all out Heyman and they're both fighting on the PBC. So it's cool. It's cool to all big guys. But I think Wilder's a better boxer, a harder puncher. I just think Wilder is better all around. You know, it's not a fight he would get credit for winning either, you know. Gerald Washington is a couple steps down from some of the fighters that Wilder has faced. So, I mean, even if he might just beat the guy, you know, I don't know. You know, I'm not really looking for that. And, you know, I know they're not looking for the toughest opponent for Wilder right now because it's just a voluntary match. You know, and I know Wilder might still fight Povetkin later this year, depending on what the WBC is going to do. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not really checking for that fight. So after looking at this list, it's funny. I heard Boxing Beats and Rhymes do a video of this on this the other day. I heard him do a list, and he said the same thing I was thinking when I looked at this list. Wilder beat so many people on this list, you know, and he knocked them out. So it's outside Stavern. Look at this list. He fought Stavern. He fought Duhapis or Duhapar. He fought him. You know, he fought Malik Scott. He fought Spilka. He fought Molina. I mean, those are good fighters, man. You know, and this is what I feel about Wilder at this point. If Wilder was a bum and he was totally overrated, he would have been exposed by now. He don't beat those guys in the fashion that he beat them in, knocking them mostly all out. And Saburn would have been knocked out too if he brought the fight to Wilder, but he didn't. I mean, I don't think the guy is a bum. You know what I'm saying? You can't keep calling a guy a bum and overrated. You might not think he's the best heavyweight, but he's clearly a top 5, top 3 heavyweight at this point. You know, because you don't beat all those guys in the fashion you beat them in and still be a bum. You know, it's not possible. You know, if you could make the argument he's not the best. I don't think he's better than Fury. He might not be better than a few people, you know. But the dude has fought some good fighters at this point. You might not realize that these guys were ranked as high as they were when he fought them, but look at what they're ranked right now, you know. These guys are all in the top 15, and Wilder fought 5 of them. He fought 5 in the top 15. Outside of those 5, though, a lot of these guys just came out of fight. Even Andy Ruiz just fought a couple weeks ago. A lot of these guys just came off fights, or have fights scheduled. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. You know, I don't know who he should fight. But I'll tell you this. I do not think he should fight Chris Arreola. I don't think he should fight him. Because ever since Arreola lost and got knocked out by Stavern, the guy put some lackluster performances in a couple fights. He had a couple fights there on the PBC that people thought was controversial, you know, that he might have lost. And in his last fight, he failed a drug test for marijuana. Now, I know it's just marijuana, but it's not a performance drug or anything like that. But this just goes to show you that, you know, where his mind state is, you know. How seriously is he taking the sport? You know, he's making all this complaint that he wasn't 100%. He wasn't focused The Stavern fight, is he focused now? If he's still smoking in between his fights, you know, you getting high, you got fights coming up, you're a boxer. You shouldn't be getting high. You know, you're a professional boxer. I don't want to hear no more excuses about your weight and your training. You know, he doesn't seem to be focused. He shouldn't be rewarded with a title shot if you're still getting high in between fights. You know? So, I don't think Chris Arreola should get the fight. You know? He's had his opportunity. He's had his opportunities in his career. This shouldn't be one right here. You know, a couple years ago, when he was still relevant and still one of the top heavyweights, yeah, but right now, nah. You know, all these guys, some of these younger guys should get the opportunity before him, in my opinion. You know, Pulev should get it before him. Ruiz should get it before him. Just off the strength that they're more focused than he is. All right? But, I mean, listen, if it's a chance to fight Pulev, that's a credible opponent. Wilder should take him. I don't think the fight's going to happen, but take him. If not him, take Ruiz. You know, give Ruiz a shot. I think he's a good fighter. I would like to fight. I know a lot of people wouldn't give him credit for it, but I would give him credit for it. I think Ruiz is pretty good. If he's going to do a rematch, do the Spilka fight over Stavern. I'll take the Spilka fight over Stavern. You know what I mean? I know Spilka got knocked out, but Spilka was winning rounds. He was outboxing Wilder. That's my opinion. You know, I think the Stavern fight ain't going to go too much different from the first fight. I see Gerald Miller call out Wilder. I don't know. Miller's cool, but I don't think he's at that stage yet. All right? Anybody else here on this list? Nah, not really. You know, not really. A lot of these guys just fought coming off losses. I mean, David Haye, listen. David Haye, that fight, I would say David Haye, but that fight's not going to happen, man. That's a real fight right there. That's a real fight. And David Haye is probably going after, he's going after, what's his face? Anthony Joshua. So I don't think that fight is going to happen. So get Pulev. And not Pulev, get Ruiz, you know. Gerald Washington, if the fight happens, it happens. It's whatever, you know. That fight doesn't do anything for me, but, you know, I guess, you know, I mean, Washington is still undefeated. Anything, you know, he's still undefeated. All right. So anyway, that's my video. Outside of the rankings, I'm not going to bring up fighters outside of the rankings. I'm just going to stick to this ranking here. This ranking system. I'm not going to stick to all these other heavyweights. We know he's not going to fight Luis Ortiz. He's not going to get that fight. He's not going to make that fight. He's not going to make it. Would I love to see it? Yeah. But I don't think Wilder's fighting Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz is going to be that guy that people are not going to fight unless the fight is forced. Let's be real. No one's going to fight that guy unless it's forced by the organization. It's no way guys are going to voluntarily fight Luis Ortiz. They're not going to do it. All right? Especially because of his age. They want to see him slow down first a little bit. You know? So I don't think it's going to happen. But all right, let me know what you guys think. I see Tarver call out too. Deontay Wilder. That fight's not gonna happen. Tarver, sorry kid, you popped way too many times recently. You're done out here, man. We're not going from one person that failed a drug test to another one. We're not doing that. All right, I don't want to see it. Tarver, win some fights without getting, without failing the test, and then we can see you fight. Right? I don't want to see the fight. Anyway, subscribe and make sure, leave some names, drop some names. Check out the rankings on fightnews.com. They got the rankings there. That's where I got it from. I pulled it up right here. And let me know what you guys think, all right? See you on the next one. Peace.